Hi there, my name is Marty Owings. Thanks for stopping by the channel today. Just a little while ago, I did a review of these Winsor & Newton Pro Marker watercolor markers. That's a mouthful to say. And what I did was I compared them to basically the same Winsor & Newton watercolor markers I reviewed back in 2015, with one important difference that was pointed out to me by several of you who watched the video, and that was that I tested them on these cotton papers right here, 100% cotton paper by Fluid. One was a cold press, one was a hot press, and I was really disappointed with their performance on that paper. And many of you rightly pointed out that, hey, you're testing it on the wrong paper. You should be using like Canson notebook paper or a cellulose paper that's less absorbent or sized differently than 100% watercolor paper. So I listened to you. Thanks for that feedback. And I'm going to test them here in my Canson sketchbook and see how they perform. And we'll take another run at this. And if I am wrong, I'm happy to admit that I am. And so let's take a look at how these work on the notebook paper. So I'll start here with this alizarin crimson here. This is a nice color. I love it. I can already see that the blending of the color is working a lot better than it worked on the cotton paper, that's for sure. So just initially here, running through just wetting the colors down, you can see that they're blending or dissolving much better here on this paper. And it's really kind of hard to see the lemon yellow as it is. And if I had one criticism about the markers outside of my earlier criticisms, it would be just make that lemon yellow a little stronger. This cad yellow is really nice and it dissolves nicely and it's quite visible, but I almost can't see that lemon yellow. So here's the first kind of major problem I run into. So I'm using Canson. I am trying to mix these colors or scrub them quite a bit so that we don't have those remnant lines in there where you can see where the marker lines are. And on the darker colors, I'm clearly struggling a bit to get that to happen. So here with, this is a Prussian blue, and you'll see it's a little bit more pronounced here with the darker colors in this marker formula. Whatever the new formula is that Winsor & Newton is using, if indeed they changed it. Now, I will say that it's pretty much apples to apples because this is the exact same Canson sketchbook I used when I originally did this test back in 2015. I know it is because I marked this sketchbook 2015. So when I'm trying to duplicate the tests here, or just the swatches, I can see pretty plainly that something is different. I mean, even though the colors are clearly blending better for the most part, the darker colors still have the remnant marker lines underneath. So let's just go through the greens here. This green is dissolving very nicely. I think that's a hooker's green, deep. And so let's try the black. Obviously the black isn't the darkest color. It should be, but it's kind of not the darkest color here. And it's okay, but you can see, and we'll let these dry, but you can see the paper does make a difference. That's a fact. I can't argue with what you can see in front of your face. So that is definitely true. Now this is a Canson sketchbook as well, only this one is specifically a watercolor sketchbook. So the paper is probably sized the same, but it's a little thicker. So I just wanted to give it another try and see if maybe not making the marks in a box might help a little bit, kind of scrubbing side to side. And it does help a bit, but you can clearly see there are some remnants of the marker in the still left where I laid down the marker. Do they need to be perfect? No, they don't need to be perfect. and that's kind of a rhetorical question, but are they exactly the same as they were in 2015? I don't think so. At least not in my comparison tests. So if something changed, I don't know what it is, but something appears to have changed. Or I'm, you know, overlooking something I did different back in 2015. That's almost a decade ago. So a lot can change between, over the years with the way colors are made or manufactured. And I'd love to hear from Winsor and Newton if they have in fact changed the formula or anything like that. But see, on some of these colors, you're just getting it's really easy to mix them, and they dissolve nicely, and everything works out perfect, and it looks great. And again, these are it's nitpicky, right? It's nitpicky that I don't want remnants of the marker underneath after I add color. I want it all to dissolve, but it's not going to be perfect, and that much is clear. You can see with the Prussian blue, the greens, even the yellow ochre, and some of the other colors there. So this is the Montvale watercolor paper by Canson, and I thought they did pretty well on this paper, actually. And they did well. We're going to take a look at the dry regular Canson paper, the watercolor that's dried on there in a minute, but I think they did okay. Much better than obviously the 100% cotton watercolor paper, that's for sure. So appreciate all the folks who weighed in on that, gave me a heads up on that. So thank you. And when I'm wrong, I'll admit it. And definitely, I was wrong to maybe make an assumption about the paper here or the paints without trying them on the exact same paper. But here again, you could see in that quick look that not all of the colors disperse or dissolve in the same way they definitely used to. So I think really the true test of whether or not you like a product for sure is not just swatching things out, but actually draw a picture and color it in and see what you think. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here as an old timey tractor. Kind of don't have a real John Deere green, but we'll go with this. This probably isn't even a John Deere tractor, but just some reference I found, and we'll try to sketch this out. And yeah, I mean, they work great in a sketch. I think these markers are just fine. They're not what they used to be to me. They're not exactly the same, which is unfortunate because I really loved the original Winsor & Newton watercolor markers, the ones made in France. I don't think one guy's complaint on the internet is going to send Winsor & Newton rushing back, to evaluate their product and start making it in France or anything like that. I don't expect that. That's not realistic, but it would be nice to know, at least from their standpoint, if something changed in the formula that they use now versus the one they used in 2015. Let's sketch out, give it another try here and sketch out another tractor. Different angle, different view here. This one I'll use a very limited palette, probably just use the black here on this. That's the plan here. But yeah, it'd be nice to know from Winsor & Newton's standpoint if anything in the formula changed or not. At the end of the day, they're still a good product. They're still a lovely marker and fun to use and all that stuff. I just really was enamored with the original watercolor markers made in France. I thought those were outstanding, and they made me happy. And now I'm going to wonder what I did to miss drawing that fourth wheel on the tractor on the bottom there. Where is the fourth wheel? I'll have to put that in. But anyway, just some quick sketches and thoughts, and wanted to follow up because I indeed learned something, a good lesson here, and that's tried on the exact same paper. The cotton just absorbed everything right up on these when you use these markers, and they didn't work the same. They didn't work very well at all. They work much better on the cans and paper. Still not perfect. Do they need to be? Probably not, but yeah, those are my opinions. Thanks for stopping by, and yeah, I hope you got something out of this video. So long, everybody. This has been Marty for owingsart.com.